It's Friday, January 14th, year of 2000. We're down at the City Hall. We're going to have a meeting with Mayor Furness, Ron Strand, Eric Johnson, John Shea, my wife and I, Debbie and Rick Nelson, and Randy Peterson is here, and Bob Salsman is here, and I don't think I left anyone out. Okay.
Richard, I'd like to ask why Randy and Bob are here.
Well, Bob has a situation which I would let him speak to, but he has a situation which I guess in some ways is similar to ours. And Randy's just making a record of the meeting for us, so he's disinterested, except just running the camera there.
Well, let me tell you what the meeting's about. And you asked for a meeting with the City Commission. I suggested that we have a meeting with this group first. That's the purpose of the meeting. The meeting is to hear some of your concerns, that you feel that the city is being unduly harsh on you. So that's the reason for the meeting, and we'll go from there. Also, the meeting is going to be over in about half an hour.
Okay. We probably won't get to cover everything, but I called you on Monday, January 3rd, between 1:30 and 2 p.m., and we discussed the possibility of having a meeting and so on, and then you had the secretary arranged it, and I called back in a couple of days later, and then she told me that it had been arranged and the date and so on and so forth. And she said that Ron Strand would be there and Eric Johnson would be there. Didn't say John Shea would be here, but so anyway, having said that, here we are. Now, there's a lot of things, and we're not going to have time to even begin to go into these things.
Richard, I'll tell you right at the beginning, I don't want to go through a list by list by list item. I want to know what your concerns are, and we'll address those concerns. But we're not going to sit here and go through each and every item.
I'll jump ahead to the bottom line. As I told you on the phone, and I'm sure that since we've talked on January 3rd on Monday, I'm sure you drove by our house, and I'm sure that you've seen that everything is cleaned up. Having said that,
I have seen it, and I don't think that house in Fargo, close to Bethany there, whatever the address is an issue. And I guess I'd ask these guys if it is or isn't.
That's what the
That's-
court is for.
And now you've cleaned it up.
yeah, that's not really the issue. There's a few things I want to touch on that, but
Can I ask a question quick? Because in line with the mayor's comment is that, when I sent the letter out to you near the end of the year, I indicated that it had been cleaned up sufficiently with the exception of the 2 trailers on the east side.
Three trailers.
And those have since been removed. I drove by, you saw me drive by.
I didn't remove them because of you, and by the way, they were not on our property. So they weren't on the subject property. I just want to clarify that.
Well, they're gone. So I noticed they're gone, so that's good. And it appeared that the truck, the only thing I'm wondering is that truck operable? Does the motor work on that truck?
Yes, the engine does work. As you may recall, this placard was on the back of the door. It was there for a reason. There is tags on it, and this is no longer on it. So it's currently licensed, and it does run. And if you want to double check that, call Mike Argall of the Cass County Sheriff's Department, and he will verify that that truck is a running truck.
If it runs, and I see that it's currently licensed, so in terms of the court proceeding, in my mind, you complied with the court's order. So I didn't want to interrupt the mayor's or your discussion, but in line with what he said about that not being an issue. If it's operable, I know that it's licensed because I see the tags, so that's fine. There's nothing further to do with that property other than to comply with the court's continuing injunction to not accumulate junk. So the only focus or concern the city has is the property way down south on 64th Avenue.
There may, and I'm not saying there will be, but there may be some point in the future, if the harassment or the,
I would object to that, Jim, that we have not been harassing you. We've asked you
Well-
to obey the codes and ordinances of the city,
Well,
along with everybody else.
Mayor Furness, if we had, if we had time, I can prove to you, without any question of a doubt, what has gone on. But that, I'm not here to have a battle over that. And it's when we go downtown, Mayor Furness, and we run a few errands and do a few things, and then before we go for dinner, we have to hurry home and check on the house because we are in fear that city people have been over there removing things or something like that. And we've done that many times. We have been downtown and right in the middle of what we're doing, we were in fear that the city was out there doing things. What we did is we met the obligations and the timelines that we had to meet in the order that we met them. But we went way beyond the timeline, way beyond the expectations. We didn't just stop at the timeline, we kept on working after the deadline. So we virtually hauled everything out just to be done with it. And of course that is not the issue. Now the issue that is going to come up and that we need to get to, where you're going with this I'm sure, is the property where we used to live south of Fargo, or now in very South Fargo, because the city limits goes 3 feet beyond the back of our property line, exactly and precisely. Okay, that I do not own that property. That is in the estate of my mother. We are in the process. We're going to be going through everything out there, getting rid of stuff, moving stuff, and so on. Now, it needs to be, the point needs to be made right here, that the stuff that we decide to keep there, I have to go a minimum of 70 miles to put the stuff in a place where it will be until I use it or move it or whatever I do with it. The place out there is going to require a lot of time. I know that the process in town here, but it wasn't realized what we were doing in town. What we were doing is, yes, we brought stuff home, then we hauled stuff out. We were in and out, so it was a fluid, dynamic situation. It was not a static, standing still situation. And there was some misunderstandings about what I was going to use some crates for, what I was going to use some pallets for, etc. But that's not an issue now because those things are no longer there. The property south of town, which we are going to clean up, is not something that's going to be done in a matter of weeks or even in a matter of a couple of months. We are of the opinion that it is going to be 2 years or less. Now, if we say that we're going to do this in 6 months, for example, in the summertime, and then we don't get it done in 6 months, then everybody's going to be on our back. We don't want to get into a
We're going to be
situation
on your
like
back
that.
anyhow, Richard.
Well,
Richard, 2 years is not a reasonable amount of time to clean that up. And that's what you told me on the phone, that you wanted 2 years. And I don't even know what the law says, and I don't even know what our regulations say, but 2 years in anybody's mind is not a realistic time.
Well, we can't do it in a short period of time. We have missed visits with our children. We have missed.
That is not our problem. Those are not caused by our actions.
Wait a minute. Excuse me. When I am so busy, like a dog chasing my own tail, because of problems with the city, that my family gets deprived of the last opportunity we have to get it reunited, that is serious stuff. And Ron Strand was understanding in that situation. John Say said he didn't want to get into my kids, which made me very angry because of the wording. But the fact of the matter is, we have a life to live, and we can't just go out there and do it overnight. And some of that stuff which we're going to keep is going to be moved a long ways. It's not going to be in the state of North Dakota. It's going a long ways from here. But we have to go through things, sort things, box things, whatever, truck them, get them out of there, and it's not going to be a short. There is a lot of stuff there. Now, there is some things that the city can do to facilitate. We have been able to burn out there for a long time. Now, with the city there, it's a little different situation. I know how to handle fire. We've never left a fire unattended. We've never had a problem with fire. In fact, a friend of mine did have a problem once with a fire. He was burning some stuff and it got out of hand. And he was trying to protect a vehicle downwind of the fire. And he started dragging some fence and stuff in there. And I said, you can't. I came along. I said, you can't do that. I said, we've got to drag some stuff upwind of the fire to deflect the wind. And we did. And then the fire went straight up rather than towards the vehicle. But if we can get something arranged so that we can burn the stuff that will burn, that we don't keep, that's one thing that'll help. We don't have to haul it. We don't have to truck it. That's one thing that'll help. It's a little thing, but it'll help. We do have to get enough time, because we're not going to be put in a situation where we have to come back and beg every time we don't need a deadline. We're not going to be put in that situation. And I think that the paper, I don't know if you've seen this or not, the paper that we filed, this goes into a lot of things. I don't have extra copies, but we've already furnished copies to the city commission. Did you look at this paper? Would you like to look through it?
Sure.
I'm rather surprised you haven't been given a copy of
You guys have been served on it?
it. Eric Johnson's been, copies have been delivered to the city commission office. A copy for Eric Johnson, a copy for the for your department.
You served on us by the sheriff?
Eric Johnson doesn't use a sheriff to serve us.
I don't know, sir.
I haven't seen it yet.
That's pretty important. You really should look at it.
Well, if you're going to...
Have you looked at this?
I've seen a copy of it, yes. Seen a copy.
So you're familiar with it.
Yep. I think that's what I think it is, yeah. Some kind of protective motion that...
See, when we went to court, we didn't say there wasn't a lot of stuff there. We didn't say that we were against cleaning it up. We want to have a nice yard. We want to have a
Is
nice.
this the one out south, or is this the one in town, closer in town?
That is the situation. The pictures are of the one in town. I have much better pictures, which I would like to show you. I know we planned from 2 to 3. I would like to come over and just literally show these to you. Maybe we can kind of get around in a circle. But if you don't have copies of that, then copies should be made, and everybody here should have one. Everybody here that's concerned.
I'm just wondering what the legal status of that is.
It's been filed with the clerk of court.
And you guys kept harassing us.
Yeah, we have a hearing that we had scheduled for next Tuesday related to the trial and the lawsuit for the near south side property. And so they prepared this document, asking the court to hear it at the same time.
Wait a minute. What you have what? Would you repeat that? I didn't get that.
A hearing on the motion for attorney's fees.
Yes.
Scheduled for Tuesday the 18th, which is the same time that you scheduled that, I believe. There's reference in there.
Oh, this motion. Yeah, this notice of motion and the motions and so on. Yeah, this was scheduled at that same date. This is in regards to that.
Right.
I would like to just briefly show these pictures because these pictures were taken the first day we had sunshine, so that, and anybody who's interested can gather around and look at them, and I'll go through them as rapidly as possible and explain what this is. I'm going to crouch down here so he can look over the top. Now this is going from east to west, and then from south to north, around the corner on the intersection where we live. This was taken from across the street on the sidewalk, walking towards the west.
Which property is this now? It's the one way south?
Near south.
This is the one in town
Second
by
Avenue.
We're
Deputy.
not, that's a done deal. We're not
Yeah, but
talking about.
they're keeping harassing us.
What have they done?
Well, now, he did say now that the truck was running, and he didn't know that, and so on, and the trailers were gone, that was all right. But since I went to a lot of work, I took the
Well,
pictures.
it's no point in going through them, it's irrelevant. I've looked at it, he's looked at it, everybody agrees that there's no problem anymore.
If you're satisfied that you've done two, you're done.
Yeah. I didn't spare I didn't spare showing the inside of the carport either. I'll just show you those couple pictures. This is looking alongside the car, between the car and the dually truck. This is the walkway to get in the car. This is the walkway to get in the dually. And as you can see, there's just shovels up in front of the car. You know, there's really nothing there that doesn't belong there. And the backyard of the little house, since we people have not been in the backyard, and like I said before, we don't want people walking in the yard without getting our permission. There is looking along the north side of the little house towards the back. There's looking towards the neighbors. There's nothing along the fence but a tree. There's a pole in the corner. And then this is looking, angling back more towards the west. You'll see the front of the old pickup and a dog house. And somebody wants a dog house, but it's frozen. They're going to get it out in the spring. We don't have a dog right now. There's the front of the pickup. And then angling over here, I've got a couple of mowers. They're twins. One is for parts. Got a couple of shells, snow blower, and a little bicycle trailer. And there's just a real plain table here with a lights on it. And there's a snow blower for the garden tractor. And then there's two barbecues along the fence and a garden tractor trailer. So that's what's in the backyard.
Can we get a copy of this picture?
Photocopy. Maybe when we get done with the meeting, we'll copy some things.
But you have a name already.
I want to keep these in a certain order.
Well, we're not talking about
Yeah,
that
you can,
particular
yeah.
property.
No, the ones out of
Everybody's
town.
agreed that,
Yeah.
that is satisfactory at the moment anyhow. And so what we're concerned about is the one that's way south.
Well, for
And
one thing, we can't do anything in the wintertime with the south property because of the snow.
The point has been made, and Eric knows this because he has made this point in one of the papers that he wrote. We are disabled. I have spinal arthritis. I can't spend a lot of time out in the cold in the winter. And the snow that you get in town here, and the snow, there's snow out there right now. We don't have anything on the ground out here to speak of. Maybe a bit,
Can we ask,
out there we've got snow 3 feet deep in places.
from a city point of view, what is the situation there? What kind of time do we give them to clean that up?
They only gave us,
I think an order was sent, and a typical junk removal notice gave them a month, basically.
All of your notice.
2 weeks, I'm sorry, it was 2 weeks. Sent out on December 14th, and given until December 29th.
We don't have papers on the property south of Fargo. We don't have papers on the property south of Fargo. And another thing, your standard notice, and I have several of them here. Your standard notice is 14 days. Now we cannot. In fact, we will not risk our health trying to go out. We are busy trying to get our children back right now. And if anybody interferes with that anymore, then I can promise, if we get bulldozed anymore, there will be a lawsuit. Now, I don't like to make threats.
Well, you should do that. I mean, if that's what you feel, then that's what you should do. And
Because
let the
we
judge
would
decide.
like to get adequate time, and like I said, it is gonna take a whole summer season, a whole year minimum to clean it up. Now, the sooner we get done with it, the sooner we don't have to worry about it. So we're gonna get it done as rapidly as possible.
What are some other ways the city could help? I mean, I don't know if we can do the burning out there. We'll have to find out about that. What are some other ways the city could help burn it up?
If there was some things that we couldn't burn and that weren't appropriate for Fargo iron and metal, it probably wouldn't amount to much, but the city could let us take it into the dump without charging us $16 a ton or whatever. Is it $20 a ton right now to haul garbage in?
25.
$25 a ton. That's a little thing. Burning, getting into the dump, those would help us. I mean, those two things I can think of right now. I haven't tried to think of things that the city could do that would aid us, but we would appreciate anything and everything that you could do. Do you have any other ideas of things that might, other than burning and being able to dump refuse, is there anything else you can think of?
You mentioned salvage, are you hauling your Fargo where?
When I have scrap metal to get rid of, I do haul it to Fargo Iron, or I sell it to somebody and they haul it to Fargo Iron or whatever. We have some good steel out there, and there is some parties that want some of it. It's tough to get it out of there right now. There is some steel in front of the driveway that somebody is interested in, and it's the big stuff. It's not way out and back. So as soon as this person can get some time and weather permitting, he'll come down with his truck and his tractor. Because another thing I can't do, and that I can't lift the way I used to. I can't do it. There is some sections of beam there, steel beam, that are out of the Alps, and one of them is, well, I just about lost a finger on one piece of steel. It's over 1,000 pounds, at 21 feet long or thereabouts. There's another one that's about probably 12 feet long, and that's probably 700-800 pounds. And, you know, trying to struggle to move that stuff around by hand is impossible.
With all due respect, you should not be the one having to do that. Whoever wants that stuff should be doing that.
That's why.
And the weather in winter is this winter is not bad enough that could not be done right now.
We have talked about it. As a matter of fact, I spoke to the fella. He says, I suppose I should be getting that out of there pretty soon. And I said, I wish you would. Because I said, the city is going to start putting pressure on us, and every little bit we get out of there, just it makes, and when you get stuff out, it makes it easier to get the stuff behind it. Because of the distance and so on, in connection with where I'm going to take stuff that I'm going to keep, that is going to be a slow process, and I can't just get in there just any time I want. But so that's going to be. There's going to be some logistical problems there. I do want to say one thing with respect to something you said on the phone. We really only talked for roughly 8 minutes that day. It was a very nice, cordial, brief conversation. And during that conversation, you made a comment that I just hauled stuff from Fargo out to the place south. That's not correct. There's one trailer load of stuff, double axle trailer, and it's out there, and I hauled that from in town out there to the place out south, and let it load, because it's not going to stay there. It's going to go to this place where I've got to go 70 miles. The other thing was one pickup load of material. One pickup load of material. Now that is stacked up in the yard. So that's the only stuff that we took from the place in town out south. There is several trailers out there right now loaded and ready to go. Some of the stuff really shouldn't be outside. So we're trying to find a place where we can unload that so that we'll have the trailers freed up and be able to use them. Right now there is the big trailer, there's 2 small trailers, 3 small trailers. There's 4 trailers out there right now ready to haul out. There's one trailer in front of the house that is now empty. And so it's ready to be used, but I have to fix a tire on it.
Would you agree that it's your responsibility to haul that stuff out?
Well,
You're not asking the city to haul it out.
no, I don't want this, I don't want the city to haul it out. We had worked on a sale, which would have gone through if it wasn't for the situation, custody situation with our family. We had a sale lined up where we could have sold the property and we could have left anything there that we didn't want, and they would have disposed of it. But that is not something that looks like it's gonna, that's not gonna work. The time that went by and stuff killed it. Now, I'm not gonna say it's totally dead. It might be that it could be revived if we get our children back and are not able, see, if once we start going out there and working, let's say that the weather was summer and it was nice and we were just going to go out there and work. Once I start on a job like that, I'm going to be loading and going and unloading and loading and going and unloading, and that's going to be it. And I don't know how many loads there is in the yard, but there's quite a few. And I'm very close on estimating these kinds of things. And it took 45 days for me one time to empty a single garage stall that I had stored stuff in. I guessed it was going to be 20 loads. It turned out to be, I had 45 days to do it. I got it done in 44 and it turned out to be 21 loads. Now that's a pretty darn good estimating, just looking at stuff. But the fact of the matter is, this is not something that we can do overnight. No, I do not want the city of Fargo to do it. I do not want to be having people look over my shoulder every minute. I'm the kind of a person that if I say I'm going to do something and I'm left alone and not pestered, I will get it done. I don't always get it done as fast as I would like to
That
get it
hasn't
done.
been your history, Richard.
Oh, I would disagree and up to a point because I know the other side of the story. I know the problems that it's been on where I'm going to take this or where I'm going to take that. I know what I run into, whether in things like vehicle breakdowns. I know all the myriads of things that can go wrong when you start doing something like that, and the time involved. You think you're going to run to the store and get something and be home in 10 minutes, and it takes you an hour and a half. That's just the way life does sometimes. There's nothing you can do about that. It happens to every one of us.
You know, I'll suggest something. I mean, one of the, we started with the near south property, you know, we started with a warning to you in August or September of '98. By the time we got, you know, I gave you some extensions which not only where you were supposed to make some progress, and you did for a short while, but then when the cleanup fix-up week came along, started accumulating more items. And that's what brought about the lawsuit. So the lawsuit started in June of '99, and it was nearly 6 months between the start of the lawsuit and when we get to trial. And that's a typical time frame for bringing the lawsuit. That being said, what leads that me to what I'm leading to is the idea that we're concerned about the property on the far south.
So are we.
And I know you are. And appreciate that your willingness to work on that. My only concern is that if you said, gee, you haven't said this, but if you said, gee, I need 6 months to get it done. If I knew that when 6 months went by, again, you don't like the deadline, but we have to have a deadline. If the 6 month deadline went by, and we could go into court the next day to have the court order it. Worked fine the last time. When the court ordered you to clean up the property, you got it done.
Oh, okay, no, I disagree. We were already in the process of cleaning it up and already very busy before we went to court. We didn't clean it up because of the law. Now, and I wasn't...
That could be, I don't know what your motivation was, but...
No, my motivation is to have a nice clean yard.
Most of the activity occurred in the few days prior to the court trial. And you said in the trial you were up all night, the night before the trial, working.
Because we had a certain amount of things that we wanted to get done.
And then you finished the task. There was still quite a bit left to be done after the trial, and you finished it. You substantially complied with the court order.
Yeah.
There were a couple of minor things which I identified in the letter I sent out toward the end of last year. all I'm trying to say, Richard, is that if we gave you a 6-month deadline, knowing that the day after the deadline passes, or a week after, or 2 weeks after, we could be in court saying, Judge, would you help us out with an order here because you seem to get Mr. Nelson's attention in doing these things, I probably wouldn't have any problem with that. But I can't do that. In order, when you start a lawsuit, it takes 6 months. So the problem with giving you 6 months now is that if you don't comply with the deadline, then we file the lawsuit, it's another 6 months before we get to trial. Now years pass.
I need to clarify something. I've been trying to do this for 5 minutes. You're like me, when you get wound up, it's hard to stop.
Well, I wanted to finish my thought.
Yeah, that's what I want to do before I forget what it is. The fact of the matter is, now I just want to clarify this, I wasn't aware that it was a lawsuit. It was a lawsuit to get something accomplished, to get it cleaned up. Is that right?
That's right. It was an injunction, is what we're...
Well, okay.
That's a lawsuit.
Okay, I wasn't aware of the similarity between lawsuit and or injunction. Okay, now, let me see. What was the other thought? Yeah, we don't need a lawsuit to get it done. If we're not afraid to go to court, but I want to clarify something. This is important, and nobody understands this. Now, for just once, try real hard. We didn't bring home a whole bunch of junk cleanup week, contrary to what everybody says and believes and thinks they saw, and junk up the yard. What we did, I started bringing home some crates, most of which I did use to facilitate cleaning up the yard, some of which I did not. I had a bunch of pallets that I was going to build a fence out of. I did not have time to build a fence. They are on that big trailer out there, and I can use them at some future time to build a fence, if I build a fence. Okay. Now, there was other stuff that we did bring home during cleanup week. Yes. Some of it was temporarily in the yard, but not a lot of it. There was stuff in the yard that we've taken out of the house. There was stuff that we're sorting through. My mother died. We're going through our stuff, her stuff. This is a fluid situation. We are going to be going through stuff for the next couple of years. My mother kept everything just like I do. That's where I got it. You know, if you got a bone to pick, I'll tell you where you can go out. Of course, she probably won't answer you. She'll listen real good. But the fact of the matter is, there was stuff that we brought home cleanup week, which we took in the house. There was quite a bit of stuff which we took in the house. There was other stuff we took out of the house.
Richard, we'll accept it. I mean, it doesn't matter where the stuff came from. It's there now, right?
It's cleaned up now, so.
Well, here it is. It's not south. And the one way south on 64th Avenue is not cleaned up.
No, we haven't.
We're not talking about the one, close in.
No, but there's a reason. See,
I don't care. You would agree that there's a bunch of junk out there.
well, no, wait a minute. Oh, okay. See, it's easy for some people to call other people's stuff junk.
Okay, I'll correct it. I'll call it stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
All right. Because if an independent appraiser was going to look at the stuff, he might say, well, that looks like it would be of use for this or for that. I mean, so anyway, the bottom line is...
Well, my point is, it doesn't matter how it got there. It's there.
It's there. And it's going to be dealt with. And we are going to deal with it.
But you're not going to have 2 years to deal with it.
But it's going to take that time to build it.
Why?
Because there's a lot of stuff.
Keep in mind that if it takes, let's say that it takes 2 years. Well, this place in town, according to you, it took me over a year to clean it up. Now, that's not true because, like I said, I brought stuff in, I was taking stuff out, and that's why I'm trying to make that point. John Shea went through the neighborhood during cleanup week, and I seen him, and I ran out the door and I hollered at him. And he stopped, and I said, now, John, I said, I've got some pallets there. I'm going to use those to build a fence. I've got some crates. I'm going to put firewood in them. Yeah, okay, yeah, and he drove off. He's in a hurry. But
Is that true, John?
Yeah, I did talk to him.
you know, he was in a hurry. He didn't get out of his vehicle. I didn't go out to his vehicle. I was on the porch of the house. He was across the street down the way, just a little bit, in his vehicle, that little gray one he drives around. So we didn't have a long conversation, and I thought, well, he knows now that I'm not hauling this stuff into stockpile it here. I'm hauling it in because I'm either going to use it or I'm going to move it. But after a while, it looked like I wasn't doing that. And
The point is, the stuff was there.
a problem started during cleanup week when a smart-mouth garbage collector started giving us a rough time. My mother had a friend that lived a block and a half south of us who died. And she was also a music teacher, and she threw out a lot of good stuff. There's one mirror out there that's 36 inches by 34 inches in a box, brand new quarter-inch mirror. Not junk. And there was some books. Some of them were home handyman.
You took that to your house, John?
Yes, we did. And they're in the house, and the stuff that was all stuck together and stuff because we couldn't get it in the house fast enough got wet, so we had to throw a lot of it away. But we did keep a lot of that. And people, I didn't have any, my pickup wasn't running at the time, so I had the car loaded like you wouldn't believe. I mean, I had stuff sitting on, I even had a couple things sitting on the hood. There was a fluorescent light fixture on the hood. I mean, it looked like the gypsies were coming to town, and people got all riled up. Well, okay, but
Richard, that's why we get the call.
okay, but the garbage
We're your
man,
neighbors.
the garbage man came along, and we have never went, and by the way, we have never went out looking for a garbage pile. We just happened to see this when we were driving by, and my wife, and giving us hell, telling us not to leave a mess. We have never left a mess in a pile. And I didn't like that, and I told him, I said, we never leave a mess. When we get done, it'll look, you know. And besides, it's just trash anyway, and they're gonna pick it up. But they don't wanna bend over and pick it up all over the whole yard. And I know some people do, but we have never left a mess. But he kept on. And he said it, well, you better not leave no mess. You better get out of here and all this kind of stuff. And I started to get pretty ticked off at him. I said, I told you we don't leave a mess. Now, he wasn't going to quit. He started in again, and he made a couple of remarks, which I'll just pass on repeating.
So this is on cleanup week,
During cleanup,
which is in May.
right, the last cleanup,
So last May, this happened.
last May this happened. So I got real ticked off, and I said, listen, I said, it looks like you just want to get the last word. Like you just want to leave and play the role, like you're the boss. But I said, if you don't back off and leave it alone, you and I are liable to end up tangling. I said, I've had enough of your accusations. We do not leave a mess. Now, I don't know who this garbage man was, and I just assumed not to see him again. But I don't like people talking down to me, treating, because we don't leave a mess. And in fact, the stuff with there was pretty good because most of it. But that's the end of it. But see, what happened was, all this talk got going on the city trucks. It was all over the garbage trucks that day, people down in the city, all over the building. We know about it. I have 3 people that work on garbage trucks that told me, I know about all the talk and the chit chat, and the city of Fargo is going to get Nelson. So one garbage man stopped, and he said, you remember me? Oh yeah, yeah. He says, I just wanted to tell you. I says, you got good news or bad news? He says, it depends on how you look at it. He said, I just want to tell you they're talking about you all over the radio. This was about 10 minutes after this guy that we rated me left. And I don't like this. And you wouldn't either. So,
In fact, I'll apologize to the city if that's what happened.
well,
That kind of stuff should not be.
that the radio is for business only. It's not to attack the citizens and the taxpayers who do pay their taxes. But the thing is, I want to get done with this. I'll try to finish this up. He said the city is going to come out to your place with trucks and tractors, you know, like Harry Schwartz and yada-da-da-da-da. He says they're talking about it all over the radio. They've been talking about it all day long.
Did we do that?
No,
Okay.
no, and I appreciate that. Of course, I'm not like Harry Schwartz. I don't have piles of paper in my yard and old cans. Harry had a lot of cans. He just should have sold them. I mean, he was a nice old man. I knew him personally.
Not that it matters anymore, but that's not why it happened. The neighbors were calling, complaining that you were accumulating stuff. extension, well, we talked about this at the trial.
Oh, yeah, I know.
The extension that you've been given to remove some of the stuff by the end of last summer,
And it didn't do you much good.
well,
You can't
was
get it
violated
done
because you-
any faster than we were doing it.
was violated because you started adding stuff to the
Good.
piles, and your neighbors became
Yeah.
upset and called into the city hall here and were complaining about it. It had nothing to do with whatever conversation you had with whatever garbage man. First I heard of it.
There is, well, I would suppose, because they're certainly not going to tell you what they were up to.
And it's irrelevant anyway, because.
Well, it's not irrelevant to us because they are employed by the city and they have no business in acting that way. And if I was employed by the city and
that
working in
may
a
be.
garbage truck, I wouldn't be telling taxpayers around how to live their
That may
lives.
be, but it doesn't have anything to do with the problem at 64th Avenue.
See, they're,
What good is it gonna do you guys to go into lawsuit when we can't get it done any faster?
Because what happens is nothing happens until we go into it.
well, that wasn't true in our
I'm
case.
just telling you from an outside observer. You know, if we look at what's actually happening, not much activity occurs until the city gets serious. And we are not doing this in any kind of harassment of you. We're doing what we're doing because people call us complaining about the situation. We're not out looking for these kinds of situations. We don't have time to do it. But when people call, we have to respond.
But
And that's what
we've
we're
been
doing.
busy working all the time, cleaning it up. And it isn't gonna get any better for you guys to harass.
Well,
We've been busy out on
we-
64th Avenue cleaning up.
We can't do anything until summer. You should see the snow up there. Look at it.
There's this much snow on the ground.
I've got news for you. You're holding your fingers 6, now 7, now 8 inches apart. Why don't you go out and look and then tell me again there's only 6 inches of snow out there?
Bullshit.
You go out there and look.
It's
Richard, I
I'll
tell you
make a
what,
believer out of you.
I'm leaving at 3, I got another deal at 3, I gotta go to. We're willing to work with you on the thing, I don't know what legally we can do, but 2 years, I'm telling you now, is not a reasonable time frame.
There is a couple things.
There'd be anybody in the world that would agree that you have to have 2 years to clean that up.
There is a couple things that I want to get out here real fast that I have a big problem with, and that is these people these nameless, faceless people. Now, this may be a civil matter, but I'm of the belief that I have a right to face my accuser. I know.
They're right here,
I-
I think.
Well, all right, now he said neighbors. I'm not talking about you guys. And if you guys, John Shea, the first time I met him, he turned around and looked to the west and he says, boy, that place is a hell of a mess over there. And I says, yeah, why don't you do something about that one? And at the first time I met him, by the way, I had a very small pile. God, I wish he would have left me alone. I would have got it out and I would have been in. But the thing is, there is one person that I know out there in the neighborhood here that complained. And I told her, I said, well, you may have been a friend of my mother, but you're not a friend of ours. And from here on, I don't want anything to do with you. And that's it. I'm not going to go out. I'm not stupid enough to go out and take retribution out and get ticked off. I said, I'm not that kind of a person. I'm a very laid-back person. I don't bother anybody else. I mind my own business. And if I don't like something that somebody else does, that's pretty much the end of it. But when these people complain, and then you folks, and to use your quote, what you told me on Monday on the phone, that conversation we had, we instructed the city enforcement department to get tough with these people that have messes. That's exactly what you said, word for word.
Exactly what we've done.
But the thing is, when you start getting tough with people, or some people are going to dig in their heels, they're not going to like that. Now, I learned, and I was taught when I was young, you can get a heck of a lot more flies with honey than you can with vinegar. You know, that kind of theory there. Now, I'm just going to make a suggestion to you folks, and what you do with it is up to you. But have you ever tried sending people a nice letter and say, we don't want to start the official process of taking action against you to get your place cleaned up, but if something isn't done pretty soon, we'll have to. Please call us and let's talk about this, and let's work together and get it done. Just say all of that and don't be afraid. Let's work to say it. I already sent you a letter.
I went out to your property, I visited with you, we came to an agreement as to how you would proceed to clean up your property.
Yeah,
I asked for 6 months, you said I need more time than that, I gave you till August 31.
But Eric,
Of the next year, I gave you almost a whole year.
The thing is-
And you, not only did you not clean it up,
Yeah, worse.
No, the things that you were griping about, I did work on, but there was things that I brought in that you did okay. But I don't want to waste the mayor's time. What I want to do here is I just want to say, when these people that call and complain, if there's a third party complaint, if there's a real genuine complaint that somebody says, well, I've got a dead rat in my backyard, I nailed it with a broom, it came from the place next door. Now, that's a real complaint. But when people call and bitch to you because they don't like me, hey.
That's not what they're saying. They're saying, they're not saying anything about you, they're saying we don't like the situation that is next to me or close to me in terms of all the stuff that's out there. And that's all it is. I mean, what we're trying to do.
But they're not nice enough to say stuff, they're probably
You
going to
guys
say
just
junk
want
or
that-
crap or.
That place out there, there's no houses out there. The only reason you want it cleaned up is because you're going to have that school and you're going to build houses out there.
Well, there are houses down there.
Yeah. We want to clean the place up. Here's the strongest motivation we have for cleaning that place up. We want to clean it up and sell it because we can't afford to make the payments. There is payments on it. We're paying the payments on that. There's no money left in the estate. The estate is dried up, period. Not a dime. It hasn't been for over a year. So it's been close to a year and a half. So we're making the payments on that darn thing. It's not ours officially and that stuff, but the fact of the matter is, the sooner we can get it cleaned up, put it up for sale, the sooner we get out from payments, the sooner we get out from underneath the taxes, and all that kind of stuff.
Which seems to me.
That's a pretty strong motivation.
Yeah, and so why is it going to take you 2 years to accomplish that? If I had that motivation, I'd get out there and do it in 6 months.
In winter, it's too cold.
Okay, so.
Plus the snow is way up there. Go look out there now.
There,
The
wait.
wind blows every time it snows.
That's fictitious timing, Richard, because it's 3 o'clock and I'm moving. You know, and we haven't got very far on this, so you know.
I have an idea. All right, let's kind of cut to the chase. We will try. Now, I'm not going to guarantee, but we will try. And whether we're here today or not, this makes no difference. But we are going to try to get it done next year. Now, keep in mind
What's
that
next year, 2001?
No, okay, this year, 2000, during the year 2000. Right? It's just, we're so early into the year, I'm not used to it. We're going to try and get this done within a year. So what's the date today? Let's say it's rounded off of January 15th. We're going to try and get it done within 1 year. In fact, a little bit less. We don't want to be stuck paying all these taxes. We'd like to get rid of the place before the next tax bill is due. We also need to work with you on getting, because we are disabled and there's some other things, there's a tax reduction system, you know, we need to work on that, but that's not something we can discuss now, we don't have time. But we want to get the thing done. Now, if we don't get it done by the end of the year 2000, okay, December 31st, midnight 2000, we don't get it done by then, lawsuit, and we go to court again, and the court gives us orders, and then we get it done and all that. But in the meantime, maybe we'll just be able to get it done. But anybody that thinks for 1 minute that we can get that done by the middle of June or the end of August, that is nuts. There is too much stuff.
What we might have to do is have a judge make that decision. You know, why took an oath of office to enforce the laws of the city? And we have ordinances, and I can't tell you what they are. These guys can tell you what they are. But that's what we're doing, is enforcing the ordinances that the city has. You don't like that ordinance, but this is a situation where for the good of the many, you know, you're being, in your mind, at least penalized.
Well, I don't like the ordinance. I'll tell you some reason I don't like the ordinances, because they're not really, they're corporate, they're more corporate policy than they are law. They're not, I know Fargo has home rule, but they're not really law. They're not signed by the governor. So I'm not saying that.
Are we consistent with state law?
Certainly.
So, I mean,
Well, I'm talking about when I don't want to have a mess. I want you to understand that. But by God, I don't want to be having people jumping all over my case all the time. We said we were going to clean this place up in town, and by God, we did it.
But it took us to take you to court to do it.
Oh, well, okay, you're of that opinion, and I don't.
Well, nothing happened until we did.
We were very, very busy before we went to court, and we would have got it done the same time. Well, maybe it would have taken 3 or 4 days longer because we did stay out and work all night a few times. And I won't do that again. I'm not going to go out south of town and start working all night in cold weather. I'm not going to do that. But we'll try to get it all done by the end of this year. And that is the best that we can do. And
I'm telling you that might not be good enough.
well, the other thing is, the other thing you're not thinking of is that halfway into this period of time, which is going to be a little short of a year, but roughly a year, halfway into this, a lot of the stuff is going to be gone.
If we could see some progress, that'd be great.
Well, then cool your heels until midsummer, and as you see that stuff is going out of there, then you'll see the progress. And when it gets down to the things that might take the final 3 months, or if there is some things that we have to do early in the summer of the year of 2000, it will be such a small amount that it may not be a big concern. But we don't want you coming back after we do get it all cleaned up and say, oh, by the way, this, oh, by the way, that. And one thing I do want to touch on, there's many, but there's one thing before you go, and I know you want to go, and we do too, because we have an appointment after this. But the one thing that I want to make clear, and I'm trying to find that letter that you sent us, that you made out on February, December 24th here. I think this is it right here. Okay, now, right, this place here in town is cleaned up and it's not an issue, but there is an issue that I have to bring up. You, and I told you about this on the phone very briefly. I said we received a letter dated December 24th, and as anybody knows, there was no mail delivery until December 27th, Monday. Now, December 27th, Monday, and December 28th, Tuesday, we were in court all day, fighting on our kids. But we had this letter that you sent out, that you made out, obviously, on the morning of the 24th, Christmas Eve day. We received that Monday, December 27th, 1999. It was delivered, rather. It was delivered in the mail, approximately 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, of course, we weren't there. We didn't get home that evening until after 8 o'clock. So we received it Monday evening, December 27th, 2000. Checked, received and checked it. In other words, opened it and read it right away. On December 27th, 2000 at 9 o'clock p.m. Now, in this letter, there's a couple of deadlines, and I want to say that in the one paragraph, you say that it approves, it appears that this vehicle, the truck you're speaking of, was inoperable, and we assume it is therefore inoperable. Then in the next paragraph, it appears to be quite mobile. Now you're kind of walking both sides of the fence there, but we did have an agreement in court that, and it was, I made the point that it's very expensive to license a truck like that. And you don't do it just, because it hasn't been licensed the year before. You do it for 1 month, or for the rest of the year, you're going to pay for a whole year's plate. It's beginning to end a year, and that's the way those things work. And John Morozla piped up, or spoke out and said, yes, that's true. It is expensive to license a big truck like that. And you didn't want to see that, you wanted the truck out of there. And then Eric Johnson spoke up, and well, I had originally said, we want to license it after the first of the year. Now it's licensed. Done deal. As we said we
So
would.
you did license it after the first of the year?
We have the license now.
After.
We couldn't do it, we couldn't have done it until the 3rd, but we couldn't do it on the 3rd, but it's done. It's done.
After the first of the year.
Yeah, we've got it, it's licensed right now.
Great.
Okay, now, you made a comment, and I appreciated this comment, well, as long as the vehicle is not used for commercial purposes, and it is not, and as long as it's licensed and operable, I see no problem with it. That's what you said. And then when we got this to bring out here is, we had a deadline in this letter. I would read the letter word for word, but I'm not going to because of time. But therefore, we will expect you to remove the items above, the truck and the 3 trailers, on or before midnight, December 28th. $19.99, at full compliance with it. Now, another thing, you're talking about court's judgment. This truck and these trailers were not in the court judgment. They're not in there.
Junk was. Junk and...
You weren't talking about junk in this. You said that that stuff is fine and that we made progress. That stuff was not in here. So, and the stuff was gone. But, what,
I gotta go. We are willing to work with you. We work with anybody in the city that's having difficulties. We're only gonna go so far, and I don't know if we're gonna give you a year. That's not my decision. These guys they know the laws, they know what has to be done. But I'm telling you that we'll work with you, we'll try to accommodate you, but for sure 2 years is too much. You know, a year is probably too much. It's just hard for me to believe that you can't get that done.
the thing you need to keep in mind is that we can't afford to make payments on that place for 2 years.
And that's what I said earlier. You mentioned it. You'd like to clean it up and get it sold.
That's what we need to do.
That, the better off you are.
Yeah, the better off we are.
So, you know, we haven't accomplished a whole lot here today.
Oh, I think we accomplished quite a bit. But one day, and these are short days this time of the year. You know, midnight.
That came after a year and a half of working.
It was dated December 24th, and it was about the truck and the trailer.
We've been working it for the year and a half prior, right? Right.
Well, don't give people a 6-hour, 8-hour deadline. That's not fair.
I mean, that's.
Well, nothing happened. Nothing happened.
The truck wasn't in
Nothing
the
happened on the 28th anyways.
And the trailers were loaded to do what you wanted to be done anyway, see? So, I mean, they shouldn't have been an issue, and they were on the property.
Good to meet you. We'll be in touch again, I'm sure.
Now, I've been watching you on Y2K and on these, and on some of these issues and talking about things, and I think regarding your Y2K and your interest in the stormiest parts of the year and stuff, I think, you know, overall, I think, and this is just a comment from a taxpayer, that's worth a damn thing, but I think you're doing a pretty good job. Once in a while we watch you on Channel 2, but when you guys get rolling up here and when you're gonna do a